Greetings, world builders, and welcome back to the tavern. It's season 3, baby!
Yeah!
Woo! It is our very first official episode back after our break. We are so happy to be here again. And always in pursuit of improving the podcast, we've made a couple of changes that we're very stoked about, and we hope you will be too. You will notice that we have a couple of new segments in our episodes going forward. Keep listening if you want to hear them in action, or you can go listen to our Season 3 Session 0 if you want more background on what the changes are and why we've implemented them. Hopefully you are as excited about them as we are.
You better be.
Or else.
Yeah, we can't do anything, but we'll know. With that housekeeping out of the way, today we are talking about the Netflix show, The Umbrella Academy. Beware, here there be spoilers. We are going to be focusing on season 1, however, we make no promises not to talk about the rest of the season as it ties in, so just be warned if you haven't seen the whole thing, there will be spoilers. The 4th and final season has just come out, so we thought this was a great time to talk about the show, and we are super excited to get to talk about it. With that, I invite you to grab an ale, 0 proof always available, and pull up a chair. I'm Emma, your friendly barkeep, along with Allison.
Hello.
And Christiana.
Hi.
And we are so happy to have you here. Cheers!
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 We would like to give an extra special shout out to all of our patrons today. We really appreciate everybody who supports us on Patreon. We could not do the podcast without you, so thank you so much for everybody who subscribes to our Patreon.
Yes. Thank you.
So a little background on the show for anyone who hasn't seen it. The Umbrella Academy is set in a universe where 43 women around the world gave birth simultaneously at noon on October 1st, 1989, though none of them had shown any sign of pregnancy until labor began. 7 of the children are adopted by eccentric billionaire Sir Reginald Hargreaves and turned into a superhero team that he calls the Umbrella Academy. Hargreaves gives the children numbers rather than names, but their robot mother, Grace, later names 6 of them: Luther, Diego, Allison, Klaus, Ben, and Vanya. I will interject with a quick note here. The actor who plays Vanya is a trans man who transitioned partway through the series. We will be referring to him by his pronouns and his preferred name, Elliot. However, we will actually be referring to the character still as Vanya and using she/her pronouns for the first season, since that's what we're going to be focusing on. We look to the show for guidance on this, and they do flashbacks in the later seasons that do this as well, so
I think it's cool that they mimicked his transition in his character.
It was incorporated really well.
It was,
but we will get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So Reginald puts 6 of the children to work fighting crime, but keeps Vanya apart from her siblings' activities, claiming she demonstrates no powers of her own. The first season, which we will be focusing on in our discussion today, is set in the present day, where Luther is part ape and has lived on the moon for 4 years, Allison is a famous actress, Vanya is a violinist, Klaus has a drug addiction, 5 disappeared 16 years earlier, Ben is deceased, and a ghost who is able to converse only with Klaus, and Diego has become a vigilante. A lot going on in this family. The estranged siblings learn that Reginald has died and gather for his funeral. 5 returns from the future, revealing that a global apocalypse is imminent, but is chased by time-traveling operatives from the timeline-preserving organization known as the Commission. The reunited siblings try to uncover the secrets behind Reginald Hargreaves' life, and their dysfunctional relationships are strained. They band together to try and prevent the impending apocalypse. There is a lot going on.
A lot.
To kick things off here, we're going to start with Happy Hour. This is where we're going to talk about our general thoughts and impressions of the show. So, what did everybody think? Had y'all watched this before, or is this your first time watching it? It was my first time watching it, which is interesting.
I've seen it before, though not the latest season, because
that just came out.
Yes. I've seen it a few times. It's a comfort show for me. I've rewatched it a few times. I have big negative feelings about season 4. But...
I've now watched up to the end of season 3, but I have not yet watched season 4, and I hear that it's very divisive,
I've started watching season 4, and I'm still entertained. So I'm
still
not sure.
entertaining.
It's really the ending, right?
It's the ending.
Oh, okay. I haven't gotten there yet.
I won't spoil it for you or our listeners, but I will say it feels like character assassination a little bit. Like the whole point of the show is like the growth of the characters and how they come together and everything.
Well, let's talk about season 1 because it's great.
Season 1 is fantastic.
Well, speaking of characters, we were chatting about this in the group chat, and we wanted to guess what each other's favorite characters are, because that's always a fun segment. So, should we start with guessing Christiana's?
Okay.
I kind of want to say Klaus, because he can talk to the dead, and that's kind of like right up your alley.
Klaus.
It's 5. I love 5.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I agree. Klaus is like my favorite character to watch. But I think the character that I like relate to in a bizarre way is 5.
Yeah.
Because I remember being young and feeling like I was stuck in a body that was like, I'm older, I'm smarter than this, I'm older than this, like I have all this experience, I've lived through all these things, and still the only thing anyone ever sees is a 12-year-old, and just being so frustrated by that. So I really love 5, yeah.
Yeah, for anybody who hasn't seen the show, so we mentioned that 5 like disappears. So his power is he can like travel through space and time. So he like travels through time, gets stuck, lives to be like in his 60s, and then manages to find his way back. But when he comes back, he gets transported back into like his 15-year-old body. So he's like an old man in a child's body.
Yeah.
And what a great actor
for him.
The
My
kid
goodness,
who plays
he's
him.
incredible.
So good.
He's really
actually
good.
Seems like an old man in a he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Allie, is your favorite character Allison? Not just for the name, but that's my guess. No? Oh, that would be my guess.
I'm going to go for a wild card, and I think it's Luther.
And that was going to be my second guess.
Luther annoys me, actually. I don't
really.
Oh, really? I thought
poor Luther.
I thought you would like his, like, he's just such a good guy, and he's just doing his best all the time.
He's a sweetie.
It's kind of boring, although I do enjoy him in season 4, where he's a little bit more like happy all the time, and he's just kind of fun. My favorite is actually Klaus.
Oh, Klaus is so good.
I like that all of the siblings are very damaged. I mean, I don't like that, but
it's good TV.
Okay,
and they're all trying to hide it, but Klaus is not. He's the only one who's like, I am wrecked, I'm open about it. I don't know. And I just think his character arc is very fun. 5 is a close second, though. I also really like 5.
Okay, Emma. Is it one of the ones we've already said for Allie and myself?
Emma's might be 5.
It's also Klaus. Klaus is my favorite in seasons 1 and 2. Yeah.
Good choice.
I don't know. Yeah, he's really interesting. I really liked his heartfelt arc, like his whole arc with he also ends up going back in time, and he meets a soldier in the Vietnam War.
Oh my
and
God.
They fall in love,
Yeah,
and then he dies.
That's season 2.
And he like tries to save him. Yeah, and I love that. It's like, so Klaus is a great mix of like, being like super toxic and like damaged, but also like really heartfelt, and I love that. And then but then season 3, I don't know, 5 just gets even more like cynical and old manish, and I'm like, I love this. This is fantastic. Have either of you read the comics? Because I know it's based on a comic series, which was written by
Gerard Way, the lead singer,
which is also
of My Chemical Romance, one of my favorite bands of all time. So of course I read the comics as an angsty teenager.
Yeah.
So
are they similar to the show?
It's very different. The comic series is pretty short. There's a lot added in comparison. But for example, like Klaus going back in time, in the comics, it's literally like 2 panels where like 5 is kind of experimenting on him, and then he goes back in time and he comes back and he says something. And then the show chose to like actually show that and really expand it. And I think
a whole thing.
They've made a lot of really clever decisions with realistically not a ton of source material. The last half of season 3, I was kind of like, meh. And then season 4, not a fan of. But for the first 2.5 seasons, I think they did a really, really good job of taking the source material and really expanding on the world and expanding the experiences of the characters. So
one change I noted was in the comics, Diego's power was just that he could hold his breath forever.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, they were kind of smart
but then
to change that.
They
in
changed
the show,
it. It's like control of air. Almost, which I think is like a smart expansion.
The velocity of objects, but that's
kind of by controlling the air, right?
Yeah.
Like
sort of, but it's not like you could move something that wasn't already moving.
Yeah.
So it
doesn't.
So he typically uses throwing knives for anybody who hasn't seen the show, and he gets to like curve them around corners and stuff, which is very badass. With that, we are going to move on to Tavern Talk, which is our deep dive into the building of the world. So if you're here for the world building, this is the segment where you're going to get it.
And in this season, we are talking specifically about genre, which I'm very excited about. And I think Umbrella Academy does a really good job at being a superhero show, but also taking... Not quite, and also taking sort of the outrageousness of comics and making it, I don't know how they do it, but they put it onto the screen, and it's still outrageous, but it's not like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. It's not unbelievably.
Well,
I don't know.
I think
why don't we start by like talking about what we'd expect the world of a like superhero show to have, and then we can like compare and contrast. So, like, what would typically be in a superhero world?
Superpowers.
Yeah.
And generally, I mean, in traditional comics, you don't really see a whole lot of negative things associated with superpowers. So I really like that Umbrella explores how awful these powers are. Like some of the things the characters have to go through, especially Klaus, who is, his dad sticks him in a crypt and just leaves him there because
he can talk with the dead. He's like, you have to get over your fear of the dead. We're going to do like horrible exposure therapy.
And then Allison's power, so she can influence people to do whatever she wants. And that power would be so tempting to just abuse. And she does in this show. Yeah. She uses it on her daughter, and as a result,
which ruins her life.
Yeah, it's like just because her daughter was like complaining about something, and she uses it. She's just
like, I heard a rumor you went to sleep.
Yeah, just to make.
But then her like partner, I think they were married. Her husband like sees it, so then he's like, absolutely not, and like,
of course,
like takes the kid, and like, which is awful because and it's also like she's a famous actress, and you also see like that's how she got all her jobs and stuff too, is by like rumoring her way into it. So, but like it leaves her with this really like hollow, like she doesn't feel like she's earned anything.
You see also as the seasons progress this kind of idea of like, well, is anything genuine when I can fabricate it? Right? So
and then Luther, of course, is like has a monkey's body, which
well, that's not his superpower though. No, that's because he had a near-death experience, and his dad was like, "I'll save you," and grafts him with a monkey, which is horrifying to him. His is super strength, I think, right, which is like a pretty classic like superpower.
I really feel like the show embraced sort of the classic Captain America type superhero with Luther with a bit of a twist. Because, like, he wants to be this hero, he wants to be the Captain America type person, but all the other siblings abandon him. And he's the only one who's, like, still trying to fight crime.
Yeah, he's a leader without a team.
Yeah.
I think you also see that with Vanya's character, and where she, referring to the character, was raised with the belief that, she actually doesn't have any powers. Kind of thing, when in reality, secretly, she has the greatest powers to some extent.
Or the most powerful.
Like the most powerful.
The powerful powers,
greatest in terms of like...
in magnitude.
Not necessarily in what you'd want.
Because she can take any sound and turn it into like energy, basically. So she makes like massive like energy. She's kind of like a bomb if she's not like controlled. If she doesn't control it properly. So then her dad basically gives her drugs, telling her that it's because she's like anxious or depressed, but it like represses her powers for her whole life.
So I think it's interesting world building in that sense, where they kind of, there's a fault for every power. There's like they kind of build in the foil with every single character to some extent. And actually, now that I think about it, I think literally every single character has a built-in foil to them.
What would Diego's be? Because his issues aren't really about his superpower.
I think it's the fact that he doesn't have a super duper power.
Oh, that it's not as
right, like that is not as powerful as and flashy as his siblings. So that's why he has that vigilante need, because it's like, well, I can't lift. I'm not living on the moon, and I can't lift a bus off someone, but I could do these things. Look at me doing cool stuff. Like that's kind of how I view it. It's more like a self-consciousness.
Yeah, I think it is a self-conscious. I think it's less about him feeling insecure about his powers, though. I think it's more of just like even though he has this power, it's not enough. Like he can't impress his dad.
Yeah,
like he has major daddy issues. Like they all do. But like he all issues. They all have strong parental issues. But like his thing is very much like no matter what he does, it's never good enough for his dad. So I feel like maybe that's his foil. It's like I have a superpower and
but
it's
still not
enough.
super
like, what do
enough.
I do now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, very
There
sad
is
for
a
Diego.
scene in the 4th season that I am going to bring up just because it's very funny, where I'm trying not to spoil it. One of the characters gets frustrated and like tries to leave a situation, and he's pointing at all the other characters saying what their issue is. And he's like, mommy issues, daddy issues, more daddy issues. You somehow seem weirdly self-actualized. Daddy issues, like back to it. It's so funny.
Who's the weirdly self-actualized one? Klaus?
Lila.
Yeah, okay, fair
So,
enough. Who
not
ends
one
up
of
is
the
Diego's
siblings.
weird assassin wife.
Yeah. So you seem weirdly self-actualized, but like it's just so funny.
That's very
the
funny.
way that they like accurately call out every single one of the characters' kind of major issues. It's really good.
Yeah. And I think that the family dynamic is certainly not one that often comes up in superhero media or like classic superhero
because he's usually
worlds.
the lone superhero, you know, like
Or
Superman,
found family.
Spider-Man.
Yes, yeah, it's not usually. I mean, even this is not like biological family. Like all of the siblings, none of them are actually related. They're adopted, but you know, like legal family. Yeah, like
it's a little different than found family because found family tends to happen like in adulthood to some extent.
Yes, it's like assembled family,
assembled Avengers family. But yeah, so I think they do that interestingly too, right? Where they're raised with each other. You don't see that often. Like with X-Men, it's everyone kind of coming to their powers on their own and then ending up in Charles Xavier's school for gifted youngsters at some point in time or another. This one is like, no, from birth, you're all raised together.
And they talk about, too, how, like, kind of their biggest bond is their trauma. Because, like, their father is awful. He, like, only numbers them. He doesn't really view them as children. He views them as, like, tools and weapons and whatever. So, like, there's things of, like, you know, frolicking is only for Sundays between 12 and 12:30. Like, that kind of, like, life. So it's also, like, their family, they're not chosen family, but they're family that was like put together and then bonded by trauma, and then like, oh, is that a real family? What do we mean to each other? Is there something here beyond just the fact that we had this same awful childhood? What keeps us together?
Which I think is an interesting trope because often in superhero sort of comics, shows, any sort of media, it's like you have Batman who's an orphan who, you know, becomes bonded with Alfred, who has his best interests at heart or whatever. Or it's like, oh, no, I'm mad at the world because of it. This is like somehow flipping that trope on its head, where either the superhero is just purely good. It's like a Superman being adopted and saying, these are my true parents and everything is fantastic. Or a superhero being rejected and having to find their own family in adulthood. This one is kind of like, well, we're all stuck here. So how are we going to deal with it? Yeah.
Yeah.
The superhero genre has its origins in mythology. So like Hercules, Perseus, Gilgamesh, and adventure stories, and then comic books. And a lot of those original stories are about like a superpowered person or god or whatever trying to accomplish a thing, and the story is usually about how they go about doing that, like stopping
generally have to leave home, go through the hero's journey or whatever.
But there isn't a lot of character development in those old stories, and so this show really turns that on its head because it's all about character development, really. That's what this show is about. It's
like the apocalypse is an excuse for us to work through our family dynamic. It's the backdrop to our therapy.
But it's still obviously a superhero story.
It is,
because it follows enough of the tropes and particularly the outrageousness of comics. I'm really fascinated
like everything's larger than life.
Yeah, by how that was brought to the screen. Even just like having Pogo exist and not really explained at all. Like there's just this talking monkey.
You don't need to explain it.
Yeah.
There's the talking monkey. There's also a guy who kind of looks like an ape and lives on the moon.
Yeah, or even Luther being on the moon. It's like not explained how that's possible, or like
logistically,
you know, like, it doesn't matter. We talk about that a lot on the show, about how to world build by not over-explaining, and I think this is a really good example.
Because you can hand wave stuff too, because it's like, oh well, this guy's a billionaire, so like he has his ways, you know, like it's just like you just need to give it one plausible thing, and then it's like, oh yeah, I don't need to know how they worked it out with NASA to get him on the moon.
Yeah, I think you can hand wave a lot in superhero stories, particularly. Like you can't get away with that in other genres.
Yeah.
But because this is sort of set in stone, the way that superhero genres work is that there's these outrageous things, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah. But like then it's the contrast again of like some things being very outrageous and some things being very like grounded and universal. So it's like, oh, I can rumor anybody, but I'm still having problems because I can't see my kid. Like, you know, like so it's like those human elements are very grounded and like very relatable. So like of course we don't all have superpowers, but we probably all know what it is like to have kind of a weird family dynamic sometimes, or to not always get along with, you know, the people that we love. Which yeah, you just need some way for your audience to be able to relate, so it's not too kind of incomprehensible for people.
Yeah.
Another element really common in superhero stories is secret identities, which I wanted to touch on because everyone knows who the Umbrella Academy is. Yes. They do wear masks.
They're publicized, yeah.
But they're public heroes. It's known that they're Hargreaves' children. I'm not even sure why they wear masks.
I think the masks are more for like aesthetic or to like set them apart.
Everyone knows who they are.
It's like a uniform, not like a disguise. Yeah.
But the show still kind of plays with that secret identity trope in that Vanya has a secret identity. She just doesn't know about it. Like her
extra secret.
I know, right?
The most secret.
Found that playing with that trope really interesting because the whole arc of season 1 is her discovering, oh, she does actually have powers.
Yeah.
And what to do about it when she finds that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that because you see it. I mean, I keep wanting to compare Umbrella Academy to X-Men because it's just like random kids who have powers brought together. But in X-Men, the discovering of the secret identity is entirely of that character's own story arc and their own existence in the world that was built. Like you hit puberty and then all of a sudden you can control ice and freeze things. That's something that the character has to deal with themselves. Where what I think is really interesting is that, like you said, Allie, is that the secret identity, it's not that it's secret to the public, it's that it's secret to the person who has the powers. That's a really interesting flip on that trope, where Hargreaves knows she has powers. I think Pogo knows.
Pogo does know, yeah.
Pogo knows. But it's just Vanya
Grace,
who doesn't.
Their robot mother knows as well.
Yeah, but it's just Vanya who doesn't know that she has powers. Yeah. So it's kind of like a forced upon secret identity. And I think that's... Yeah, that's a really interesting flip on that trope.
Yeah. Well, there's kind of secrets, as we find out throughout the series, there's secrets kind of about all of the kids that their father keeps from them. Like, he sends Luther to the moon, ostensibly to do, like, really important research, but it turns out this was just, like, a busy work project, and he never even looks at any of the samples that Luther sends back. Klaus's powers are so much stronger than he, like, ever taught Klaus. Like, he can, like, resurrect himself from the dead, he can, like, control that. Like,
it's possible
so, like, he's way more powerful.
He doesn't know, like, that...
No. I actually just watched this. Season 3, because in season 3 they go to an alternate timeline where there's like an alternate Reginald and an alternate school, and he's talking to like alternate Reginald, who's like, there's no way that you have this strong of powers and I never taught you them. This must have been on purpose because I was afraid of what you could do. Yeah. Okay. So like it's like they all kind of have secret identities that their father knew about that he just,
that's in line with him because he hides Vanya's powers because he's afraid of them too. So that makes sense.
And he's the ultimate control freak. Yeah. He's like, I must control everything.
In the comics, Klaus is godlike in his powers.
Oh.
Like it's very, so he can talk to the dead in the series kind of thing, but you can't bring anything back, so to speak. There's like a scene where I think he like bumps into a ghost or something and they're wearing a hat and then the hat flips out of the ghost world into physical existence, which is like an indication of like, whoa, like that's way stronger than we thought it was before kind of thing.
Well, and that kind of happens in the show when Ben suddenly exists in the, like he's able to, I can't remember if he gives him a high five or something, but he's like,
or a hug or something.
You're actually, I felt that, and then his powers slowly develop. That's another fun superhero trope: is the growing of the powers and the discovering new abilities. I especially like that in My Hero Academia, which we talked about last season. Just like you think you know what your ability can do, and then suddenly it can do more things, or you can practice and work at it as opposed to just suddenly being amazing at something, which I like.
Yeah. I think I also like we touched on it a little bit, but the idea of like wanting to be a hero versus forced to be a hero, which is also, I think, something you see in comics sometimes, but it's not generally the trope. Usually it's like superheroes realize they have a great power and they're like, inherently, I'm going to use this to help everyone. But Klaus instead is like, this sucks. I'm going to get drunk and do drugs and do everything I can to forget that.
All the siblings do that, except for Luther.
Except for Luther, because Allison's like, I'm just going to do this to get what I want.
Yep.
Diego becomes a vigilante, but he does it again because he wants to get recognition, not because there's never any indication he really cares about other people.
Yeah.
It's about like what it does for him. Mm-hmm. Vanya, of course, doesn't think that she has powers. And then Five just goes missing. And he ends up being like an assassin for the commission.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's also not doing things for like noble reasons. And he only does that because he makes a deal where the head of the commission is like, I'll send you back to your timeline if you work for us. Mm-hmm. So yeah, all of them are just doing. And even when they like fix the apocalypse, they tend to do. It's kind of like a mix. Like they want to save the world, but you also get like they really want to save themselves. Like they don't want to die.
Yeah.
Which like. Fair,
fair,
but is not entirely altruistic as we see a lot of heroes.
Very selfish superheroes.
Yes,
which is fun because that is a play on the selfless. Superhero.
Yeah,
trope.
like in season 3, they do a bunch of like heinous shit. Like they they all vote to like sacrifice this guy, and then when Vanya saves him, who is Victor at this point? When Victor saves him, Allison just straight up murders him. And everybody else is kind of just like. Yeah, well, you shouldn't have lied to us. It's right that we killed this guy. It's just like, oh, yeah, y'all aren't good, are you?
Mm-hmm.
They do a really good job of flipping a lot of the tropes on their head. The one thing I don't think is that the idea of using humor in superhero kind of tropes and world building, where it's like, haha, what if Superman was a quick-witted, snappy, sassy guy? And it's like, well, it's kind of overdone at this point. You know what I mean? It's one of those tropes. Iron Man, Deadpool. There's... At first, I feel like some of these characters, like Iron Man, like Deadpool, like these other characters, it was in a response to that, like, Superman sort of level of, like, everything is always good and I'm the moral standing. And it's like, what if they were sassy instead? But it's gotten to the point where that's almost the norm.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, a hallmark of the genre in, like, 2024 superhero stuff. It's, like, the zany, quippy, sassy
or the anti-hero type character.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny because, like, they almost, like, took a trope that was turned on its head and then turned it on its head again.
I don't even know if they turned on its head again. I think they kind of just leaned into it. Like, because, like, they don't, like, it's very fun. Like, they use a lot of humor, right? So it's like that. They didn't turn it on its head again to make it, like, non-funny again. It's just like they just super hard leaned into this. No,
that's what I'm saying.
Trope,
I think it turned on its head in the sense of, like, oh, this guy is an upstanding moral citizen, but he has a sense of humor. And then they turned it on its head in the sense of, like, this is funny, actually, because they kind of suck. You know, like, they found a different way to, like, approach that humor, even though the humor has kind of become mainstream in a lot of superhero fiction. So
yeah. And I mean, like, talking about tropes, like, we talk about ways that tropes are turned on their head, which is great, but also, like, you can still use tropes. Like, you don't
absolutely.
Have, like, like, you know, they still have superpowers, which is a trope. They still, like, do the over-the-top stuff. So it's not that you have to turn you don't have to, like, reimagine every trope.
No.
But I think it's always interesting when there's a good balance of, like, using tropes in their traditional sense and then turning some of them on their head. So you get this, like, balance of familiar and yet unique.
So you still want your story to fit a genre. So this still needs to be recognized as a superhero story. Because if you turned every trope, then eventually it wouldn't be...
It would be nothing. Yeah. Like, also, everything is a trope. So it's like, if you have 0 tropes, there's just it's nothing.
It's not a story, really?
It doesn't, or it's just nonsense, and, like, not a good way. It's incoherent nonsense, which does not make for a good story.
Mm-hmm.
With that, we have come to Proprietor's Pick.
Yay!
Allie, what do you have for us that's similar to Umbrella Academy? Is it the Umbrella Academy comics?
It is not. I try to pick things that have been published in the year this episode was released, and the Umbrella Academy is quite old, the comic, so I did not pick that. But I leaned into the outrageousness of the Umbrella Academy. And so my book that I picked is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. This was first self-published in 2020, and people loved it so much that Penguin Random House picked it up and republished the first book this August. So I'm technically counting as being published this year.
Yeah.
I've read this book and I love it so much. So here's what it's about. You know what's worse than breaking up with your girlfriend? Being stuck with her prize-winning show cat. And you know what's worse than that? An alien invasion, the destruction of all man-made structures on Earth, and the systemic exploitation of all the survivors for a sadistic intergalactic game show. That's what. Join Coast Guard vet Carl and his ex-girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut, as they try to survive the end of the world, or just get to the next level in a video game like trap-filled fantasy dungeon, a dungeon that's actually the set of a reality television show with countless viewers across the galaxy, exploding goblins, magical potions, deadly drug-dealing llamas. This ain't your ordinary game show.
I love it.
This has been on my TBR for a few months now, and I can't wait to read it.
I love this book
also,
so
Coast
much.
Guard vet caught me so
I was
by
gonna
surprise.
say, for some reason, that's the thing that like got me. I was like, Coast Guard vet.
Like,
That's so specific.
Baywatch, but vet. Slow motion running towards a whale. Like
This book is actually lit RPG. It's not superhero genre. Lit RPG is a genre kind of based on video game tropes. And so I love it so much because I'm a big gamer. And we are actually going to be reading this book for the podcast.
Yeah,
so we're going to be
can't wait.
talking about it later.
Yeah.
This
So,
season.
listeners, you can read it now, and then you'll be like
Yeah, and
super
then you'll be
familiar with
ready.
it for our episode.
It's so fun, and it is outrageous. Like bonkers things happen. It's fairly gory, but like in a outrageous way. Like
I think there's like a level of gore where
Yeah.
it becomes so gory that it's not gory, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause, like, I don't like, gory slasher horror fic or anything like that, but I loved this. So
Yeah.
if you like the outrageousness of Umbrella Academy, you might also like Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Oh, very
Can't
fun.
wait.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to last call. So here we will give you some concluding thoughts and questions that you can take from the Umbrella Academy and apply to your own world building. Allie, I'll start with you. What have you taken away from this that people should think about when they're building a world?
The Umbrella Academy does a really good job at asking interesting questions, answering some of them, and then asking even more. So that's a trick you do in writing to constantly keep your readers turning pages. So interestingly enough, episode 1 actually begins with a question that is never answered. Why are women all over the world suddenly pregnant and giving birth to babies with strange abilities? I kind of wish it was answered because I'm really curious.
Answered in
Oh,
the
is
later
it?
seasons.
Oh my goodness. Okay, cool.
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm excited. So, examples of questions that the episode 1 brings up: what brought the siblings together again? And then that's soon answered with father's death. But then there's more questions. Why are they all mad at each other? Why are they especially mad at Vanya? It eventually answered, she wrote a book. If these people were superheroes as kids, why aren't they still fighting crime? So these questions still just keep coming, getting answered, and then more questions keep building up. And the key is you want your readers to be curious and not confused. If you're making your readers ask questions like, what is happening? That's sort of the wrong question. You want them asking really specific questions.
Yeah, like why, stuff like why is this happening? How is this happening? Those kinds of like.
Why are they mad at Vanya?
specifics.
Like that's a very
Yeah.
specific question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you don't want to be asking how do they what's going on.
What's going on? What's happening? Those kind of broader questions are not there. That's more confusion. You want your readers to be curious. So
Yes,
my
curious, not confused.
my world building advice is never let up with keeping your readers curious and asking questions. It's important in any genre, but in the superhero genre, those questions are often tied to the secrets that your heroes are keeping, the secrets your villain is keeping. We didn't really touch on that much in this episode, but the villain in Umbrella is Leonard Peabody, and he's keeping big
in the
big
season 1?
secrets.
Yeah.
So those are all really intriguing questions that you can use in your world building to keep your reader turning pages.
Christiana, what do you have for our listeners to think about?
So something we also didn't touch on a ton is that in the world building, even though it's set in the current time, there's no current technology. So even though I think it's set in like 2019, around there aren't iPhones, all the cars are older models, the TVs are older models.
When I was watching, I thought that
yes. So everything is just a little off. And so my suggestion is sometimes just far back enough to be a different time is just that. It's just far back enough. Like I said, even with like the literal timelines, not seeing modern cars, not seeing modern technology, we've already established this is a different world. This is a different timeline. You don't need to draw attention to it. You don't need to explain it. But people will pick up on those cues and say, oh, okay, this is different. This is a little bit different. And it also kind of squashes some of those. I know, at least for myself, sometimes when I'm watching a movie and it's set in like 2015 and no one has a cell phone, I'm like, this would all be solved if you just had a cell phone and called 911 kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it squashes some of those questions, but it also makes the viewer feel just like the tiniest bit off kilter, to feel like, oh, ooh, this is weird. Something weird is going on. Even if they can't necessarily place it, if some things are just different enough, just out of date enough, you're like, oh, what's going on? So that's something to think about when you're kind of building your world, is even if it's set in the modern time, can you set some of the stuff back, some of the technology back, maybe some of the buildings back, anything just enough to kind of have readers or viewers questioning, this is weird, without like having to absolutely rub our faces in it. So
one thing that I took away is something we've talked about a little bit before, but I think Umbrella Academy does a really good job of it, which is have the world impact your characters in different ways. Like this is particularly brought up in, or one instance of it being particularly brought up is in season 2 when they all get stuck in the 60s, and Allison has a very different experience because she is Black. She has a very different experience of the 60s than the other characters. And also Diego, who is a Hispanic character, and they kind of talk about this later of like, oh, the other characters, like our siblings, don't really understand what this time was like for us. And they also have that with Vanya, who interacts with the world very differently when she doesn't think she has superhero powers. So the ways that your characters interact with the world around them should be different because your characters are all different. So think about that. Think about how your world is really you're building little worlds for each of your characters. So think about what each of those are and like tailor the experiences that your characters have in this world.
That's really good advice because, you know, they're probably come from very different backgrounds. They have different things going on in their head. They may process things differently. And sometimes it's hard to put yourself in another position because often you're writing like, how would I react to this? Okay, this is how I would react. So all my characters react that way.
Yeah. It's interesting how being a writer is sometimes very similar to like being an actor, but like for a bunch of different people. It's like, oh, I have to understand all of these characters' heads. I can't just be me in all of them.
I think it's also just intersectionality in all things, both in real life and in fiction.
If you have backgrounds established for your characters, that can help a bit. If you know, even if it doesn't come out in the actual text itself, but you know that, oh, this character was adopted. Oh, this character was abused as a child. That will maybe help you to be able to put yourself in their head and think about how they might react differently
and
than
sensitivity readers, as always.
Yes.
I feel like we could end that every single episode with and hire a sensitivity.
It can also
reader.
help you to think about, oh, how would one of my friends or family react to this thing?
Yeah.
As opposed to how would I do it? And then that might help you as well.
Yeah, totally. Unfortunately, this does bring us to closing time. We would love to stay longer, but these holes in the walls just aren't going to patch themselves. So thank you so much for joining us back at the tavern for our very first episode of Season 3. We do hope that you'll stick around for the rest of the season. If you just can't bear the thought of waiting 2 whole weeks for another episode, you should definitely go join us on Patreon at patreon.com/worldbuilderstavern for podcast news and updates, as well as for monthly world building workshops, which is a new type of episode that we have just started doing, where we walk you through building various elements of fantasy and sci-fi worlds from scratch. So that's really fun. We put out one of those a month. If that's something you're interested in, definitely go check out the Patreon. In August, we built a magic system, and in September, we built a fantasy creature, which were both
it was so
very
much
fun
fun.
sessions.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
Also, you should check our description if you're looking for ways to help Palestine, we have a Palestinian families GoFundMe, right? Yeah. GoFundMe link there to help them escape Gaza. You can also connect with the podcast on TikTok at World Builders Tavern and on Discord, where we are the World Builders Tavern. We hope to serve you here again soon, but until next time, scram.
Bye.
Get out of here.